Hello and welcome to a product review of Nilight 90102D. It's a 4-in-1 on and off charger panel. It includes a dual USB input, a toggle switch for on and off, a voltage meter, as well as you've got a normal input for cigarette lighter socket. Here you can see where I'm basically pulling out the basic components of the actual product itself, and I'm mapping out exactly where I'm going to place it. It's going to be to the left of my hot water heater turn on. Make sure you allow yourself at least 4 inches behind the plate itself, just to make sure that you have access for things. The wires are going to run out the back. Also, too, the little inputs are also a little bit longer. And here, our first part of the project is where I'm going to take my existing voltage from the power. The blue and the white lines, the white was actually my positive, the blue was the negative line. These are always on in my travel trailer, so of course I had to disconnect the battery. I turned off the AC, and here's the very beginning where I first initially tested the system. I already installed another one. And this, of course, is where I'm going to be stringing those lights down the bottom. Alright, let's start. First part I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the wire holder and go ahead and untangle all of these wires. I'm working in a trailmanor travel trailer, and they actually had some audio wires in there as well. It's meant for you to put a car stereo in. So right here, all I'm going to do is just disconnect the bundles, straighten them out. Also, too, I wanted to test to make sure those things were live. Tested off camera with a voltmeter, and they were, of course, running hot prior to disconnecting. Alright, the next thing is, now since I've disconnected the 2 wire strands, I'm actually go ahead and just put together the DC only. I'm going to leave the audio for additional product down the road. Probably be hooking up a secondary source for that in the future. Once you have those lines tied together, I'm just going to take that initial bracket and replace them up there to keep them out of the way. Once again, I will be sliding the mini fridge back into this compartment, so as much as I can keep the wires out of the way, the better off I will be for future projects. Next part here is I'm taking my drill bit here. I'm going to drill in there, make a hole. I'm just going to be running basically the 2 DC wires through the hole itself. Next part of the project here is I've got to go ahead and try to measure out exactly how much wire I need to extend to go and be ran effectively to where I want the switch. In this scenario, I was short about 6 inches or so. I gave myself a little extra slack too in case I need shortage down the road for it. Just stripping the wires. I'm sure you can watch many videos online about how to actually strip wires and place those in there. I learned from YouTube as well. It's where I get the majority of my know-how. Also, please be aware that the initial setup of this product sends you eye hooks. So if you do have it where you want to connect directly to a battery ahead of time, you can go ahead and skip over this part. For me, in my example, I didn't have anything to directly connect to a battery with the eye hooks. So I went ahead and stripped mine out. I went ahead and did the white wire ahead of time. Once you strip it and you connect them, I highly recommend using some heat shrink just in case anything were to happen underneath the sink. And also to be aware, the wire that comes with this product is a little on the thin side. And here we're just clamping it down. Alright, now since we've got our extensions for our positive and negative, on to the next part. Next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to map out exactly where I wanted to place these holes, because you will be placing them through the actual plate, and they do have a little part in the back of each of them to clamp down onto whatever surface you're going to mount it to. I did notice with the Nilight 90102D, it was very much what I thought it would be. Pretty good construction of the product itself. It does take a lot of ingenuity of that wiring and how to make sure that you can keep constant voltage to this, because the instructions are pretty much kind of lacking. Here I am just drilling out my holes where I will be placing this product. Next part here is where I'm going to actually put the base plate onto the holes I drilled, insert the USB, and insert in the cigarette lighter. That way I can make sure I have enough tolerances in the back. And kind of figure out where I want to place everything before I get into the wiring diagram, because that will be a big part depending upon where you start and where you end for the wiring. Here I took it back off again, and if you can see there, I have the red wires with the little connections. That's because I went ahead and did a wire loom for everything ahead of time to make sure it was already hooked up together. I made the appropriate connections because I noticed that whenever I was doing the wiring initially, there was just no real instructions at all that came with the product. So just play around with it a little bit and you're going to understand once you get it on your own. But here's basically where I'm tightening up the back to make sure the base plate is connected. I've turned on my power, did my normal wiring. It looks good. I will say this product does a great job of lighting up. So if you do need to see it at night, shouldn't be a problem at all. I did test it fully using my USB cord and my iPhone. I have an iPhone X, no problem at all, worked perfectly fine. Here you can see the kind of finished product. And here's one that I mounted vertically versus horizontally. So that's just another example of what you can do with this product. Overall, my recommendations for the Nilight 90102D, it did its job. It could be used in marine applications as well as any RV. Anywhere that you really have a DC need, it can happen. What I like about it is I can turn off the switch completely. It actually deactivates the whole system, which is nice for RVers in case you're trying to conserve battery or you need to see where your voltage is really fast, quick on and off.